quorum being present, I'm going to call the August 26th meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee to order. First order is a welcome Deb Pooler is our newest member who's present.
I'm excited.
And the next step will be the approval of the June 24th minutes, which is just the three of us. Deb wasn't here.
Well, I read them some time ago. Jackie sent them, so I make a motion we approve them as written.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor? And one abstention. Here, Jackie, you will be noting who's here.
Yes.
To the record. All right. I think the next thing is, if you may remember at that meeting, doesn't mention it there, but at the select board meeting that night, James Cochin brought up several issues, and he was advised that that was really the planning board, the ORC, but the ORC jurisdiction, but the ORC needed to be directed by the selectmen. I sent a memo to Mr. O'Connell, and I have it here. I can read it into the record, but let's see. Last night's meeting, a citizen brought up some issues concerning our land use ordinance. Mainly these revolve around parking availability in the village waterfront and village one zones. Contributing to the parking issue is the currently unregulated growth of Airbnb style rentals. Planning Board and Ordinance Review Committee concurs that these are valid issues in these zones and should be examined and addressed. The ORC would like permission for the Select Board to work on the issues in these zones. Also, the state legislature has just passed at least one law that required change in our subdivision site plan ordinances. Since our last review of these two sections, we have also noted a couple of minor points that we plan to address the next time the ordinance come up for review. In light of the legislature's actions, we also have Select Board permission to do some house cleaning in these sections. As an update, the ORC continues to work on bringing our shoreline zoning ordinances in compliance with the state model. At present, the shoreline ordinance is sprinkled throughout the LUL, our land use ordinance. We are working to have a shoreline zoning to be a standalone section to allow for easier understanding and to allow easier updating as the state model changes. Our biggest issue at the moment is how to address that in the downtown area, the 250-foot inland extent of the shoreline zone extends into the Village 1 and Village 2 areas. This fact is not reflected in any of our current maps. We are considering redefining the Village waterfront zone to equal the 250-foot shoreline zone. This would impact the Village 1 and Village 2 zones also. I'll also be seeking Maine DEP input on this, if this is the best way to deal with the situation. And I said we were short members, so we didn't get a meeting. We would meet until today. I have through Jackie that they have authorized us to go ahead on the things I brought up.
Oh, so we can.
We can now look at the things that were addressed in Mr. Cochin.
And now since that time, there's the story of the woman whose name escapes me. Sarah Whitfield.
Is planning to have an event center at the property she owns on.
I heard she was advertising she could accommodate 60 to 70 people there or something.
She has retracted all of it now that she knows she needs to come before.
She needs to, right, because she called me a few days ago. She's
been in touch with me.
She's good. She's in your church and stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you probably should talk to Colin. She goes, I already have. She goes, he's in my church and stuff. And I said, come and talk to the planning board. You don't have to be afraid of it. So
she'll be here for planning board, I believe.
Yeah, she's gonna come. But she wants an event center. She was just doing a bed and breakfast, which I told her she doesn't need anything from us because, but now she's doing the event thing.
Doesn't even need a change of use.
A bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Now I think that.
No, if it's an event, she needs to change the use.
Yeah, my personal reading is I think Airbnbs and such already can be brought in
Really?
under site plan under the idea that
I think we need to make it.
The conversion of an existing building from residential to non-residential use. Renting it changes it to a business. It's no longer residential use.
And that requires site
Which
plan.
wouldn't maybe be that way if she lived there, but she doesn't.
Well, if you live there, it's in a home, it's
Right.
a home, another
But she
story.
doesn't live there.
Like
They're
this
living
woman
there,
right by the
changing
school,
use.
she advertises,
An apartment building has to come in for review.
Chung, you know, the one with the really
You know
long
how
driveway?
many, do you guys really want to know how many Airbnbs?
I will, if you've done the research, I would like to know
There's
that.
16.
Oh, I thought,
In,
I found like
in
23.
Wiscasset or-
16 right now if you go on Airbnb.
I did look,
And
yeah.
it was 20.
And that's considered, because they live there, that's a residential use, rent a
Maybe.
room out.
Maybe.
What's happening is across the state, not just our state,
All over the country.
it's really hard to regulate them, so.
And it's really hard to find, people can't get homes
No.
because they're all Airbnb'd out. People
Oh,
bought up the French Quarter.
Yes.
They just use it for that, you know,
Yeah.
nobody lives there.
Now in the cities, it's all.
Portland.
I think that young people are beating us at our own game. Okay, this is just my opinion. But I went to New York City to visit my daughter who lives in Manhattan. They have a whole different life. They don't take a taxi to go somewhere. They take Lyft.
But
They don't
Uber-
even use Uber that much anymore. It's Lyft because it's the cheapest. And it was absolutely wonderful. They gave me a bottle of water and breath mints and all kinds of stuff, this Lyft car. And I said, Tia, how do you know they're not gonna kill you, or you don't even know them? She goes, Mom, all the cars are listed. I got to the airport and I thought I'll go to the taxi stand and wait. You should see all the, and the Airbnb's the same thing. My daughter lives in Manhattan, they've done that with their place and they make a lot of money, but less than a hotel room. Because people are tired of paying the high prices to hotels that used to have an edge on it. But my other feeling is that it's kind of sad for taxis and hotels. And like you
Right.
said, people that really want to buy a house.
Right.
Because these things is coming and they're taking the place of.
Taxis.
That's why I would encourage you guys to think about writing an ordinance that covers
That's us now.
Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's us now. You're using the pronoun.
Not,
You
you
gotta
gotta
use
Oh,
the one
me.
that includes yourself.
I just think, wouldn't it be neat to have it in the paper? I mean, we actually led the state in having an ordinance because Portland's the only one that's been dealing with it. We're not dealing with it like we should because until somebody dies in an Airbnb or something happens, I guess people won't really care.
Well, our code officer's input was, how do we, not only this, but for some other things, how are we ascertaining a minimum safety level
Yeah.
if there's no inspection at all? Some
Bruce is
no.
on it, he's got all kinds of ideas, things that he wonders about, you know.
Yes, but
Who's this?
he also gives out incorrect advice that was, to me, an alarm.
I just think we've got some people here like him that are so knowledgeable about this stuff that we've got to miss an opportunity. Not to say anything, Jackie, I don't know what you know or don't know, but I know this guy knows a lot. But that's been part of his life is working
But
with
anyway,
property, but I think we should use it.
Sarah's proposal, to me, definitely, I mean, when you go from a totally there's no residential component to an event center.
No.
Nobody's,
But she could get a business license and we could go through that and see if,
we don't issue business licenses,
Oh.
technically, we only have a business notification process, you call it a license, but you only go and
Who
tell.
approves
Business
that?
license goes to the board of
Bruce
selectmen.
doesn't issue that, you go to the town clerk and just say, I'm in business, here's my fee for filling out the
And it
form.
goes to
does,
the.
And the fee is zero,
For
I
approval.
believe.
does she know
Yes,
that?
now it does.
I didn't know that.
And they did.
Well, like, I'm
You're
in
supposed to go for
business,
approval.
right, but I'm not asking to any special
But
use.
somewhere along the line.
I
they
think
said,
at the
You're
time
not
I
having
worked-
us 80 people at your house.
Right, they said something to the degree of,
Yeah.
you might have some boards stacked around or something like that.
They do.
That was the extent of it at the time, that was,
Oh.
So we will be working on those, but not tonight, but you can start thinking about those. One of the
parking.
parking is a major
Yeah,
issue in that idea, and I guess I can thank Sarah for making that come to the forefront very quickly,
Mhm.
because it's got a lot of people asking about it.
Is that the last house, like the one across from the old dentist office?
Yep.
Yes.
The one with the big
It's a
windows.
beautiful one, but you know,
Property, yeah.
if you go on Airbnb and look, she doesn't really have much sleeping space. It's like
Could
3 little
they could sleep
bedrooms.
8, somebody told me.
They do what?
I think Bruce and I could sleep 8. There may be 4 bedrooms, I don't know.
No, no.
I did the tour when she had it open to the
I
city.
didn't go see this.
She's had a couple of,
Doesn't look like there's a lot.
She had it for the new minister as a place to meet in. And she's thrown a 4th of July party last year.
She threw something else.
She opened the Airbnb about the same time they broke ground on downtown construction.
But she was supposed to have a ribbon cut.
Yeah, well, she canceled it immediately when she found out she wasn't going to be opening. But
Never-
what a time to open your Airbnb. And when are they going to build? Night.
Oh, yeah.
She had to inform the people that had already signed up that, oh, there's going to be some construction noise. It cost her some business. So. But like anybody trying to make money with their property, she's trying to expand the use. But that's not our jurisdiction. I mean, the whole topic has been on her in particular.
I guess I should send you a copy of Jim Cochin's letter.
What's that?
I'll send you a copy of Jim Cochin's
Okay,
letter about
yes.
parking.
Yeah. I think that is something we need to look at, because a lot of people say, what does the planning board think about the whole thing downtown with no parking on the main street and all this stuff?
Well, Jackie was there, I went to the next select board meeting where he was gonna come, and because there was an open letter from Kathy Honorado about someone being there, and I told her I would, but they planned on talking to Jackie, so I didn't say much.
So let you talk.
Well, whatever, but what did we come to say? I mean, what did we end up, I'm trying to remember it, I don't remember very well. That we agreed that it was an issue, but we asked permission to do so,
Yeah,
they usually
we said
bid
we-
on that.
Yeah, and then Kim Anderson said, how are you gonna do that? How are you gonna do that?
Oh,
And I said,
yeah.
well, first go look at the letter.
Probably have to require some parking, but that parking
But
doesn't
then they
have to be
said-
on site.
Judy said something to the extent that they thought, that they agreed it was a good issue to talk about, and they said it was, but they also kind of said they didn't really want to think about it too much till this project was done, and they
The
could.
project's almost done.
But I don't think that has anything to do with it. There's no parking, but there's gonna be no parking, so.
Right, but they were kind of like,
I know.
hunting.
Well, they don't understand the process.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going on shoreline zoning.
All right, so now we're not gonna do parking issues.
Oh, well, we're not tonight, tonight. The thing I was mentioning about our site plan and subdivision, in particular, the law was signed that does away with recording Mylar plans. Registry's not gonna take the plastic material anymore, they're just gonna take paper. So we need to change our wording, and probably smart to make it, although that hasn't changed for, it's the first change in our law in 25 years maybe, so, but if we can make it so that it just mirrors the recording law of the strategy. And personally, in one place, I meant to get rid of all of the registered mail requirements, so.
Oh,
We apparently didn't, the first time you send it out, now the notice has to be registered, but the second time, if you have a public hearing, it does not have to be registered. So
oh,
I think it's,
that's different now.
I think, I don't know, maybe the state has a reason and they want to change it, but I was taught in my business class that when a letter addressed, first class letter addressed to a legal address is presumed delivered. Now, we sent to the wrong address some toys to Byron and Hampton, and they haven't come back yet. So I assume they were properly delivered to the wrong address and they're enjoying their little.
But we're gonna do it registered for the first one, first notice?
Yeah,
And then
well-
not to the second.
I would try to do it. I'm not in favor of having to do certified mail. I don't see why it's
Well,
necessary.
the applicant has to do it anyway, we don't.
Yeah, I'd like to make life,
Okay.
business friendly.
Okay.
I mean, when I had to tell Miss Pitton in this picture that, no, there's not 3, there's 20, there's 12 abutters or 10 abutters, and you're gonna send them all a letter.
Is this, I think you gave me this.
Yeah, that's the act of change.
Yeah.
It's approved. It's public law now.
Okay, so,
It's public law on
And then-
January 1st or something.
right. Okay, so we're gonna use this wording?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Keep it simple. I might say, well, the recording will comply with PL, it's got public law, recording act. That had, there was a lot of, some resistance within the industry to that. But basically, more on the original draft, there were no requirements, no standards for scanning. the document. So they were free to scan it at, say, 30 dpi. There have already been issues in other counties where complex plans were scanned at relatively low resolution and the resulting prints are horrible compared to looking at an original print. So. Anyway. And we didn't even put the shoreline zoning on the agenda, did he, for us? Oh, yes, we did, updating shoreline zoning. All right.
Okay, so what are we gonna do with this? We just-
For now, we'll just take it up another time, it's not really pressing. Where are we, Jackie, in the shoreline? It's been 37 days plus 10 days. 47 days?
Yeah.
I'll put my head into this.
All right, you got the shoreline,
I have it here.
yeah, okay.
I've got the agenda on my.
All right, that has my notes in it, and I think we went, this has been so long, we know this.
Two pages. Oh, maybe that still was where we left off.
I don't think, well, I did my notes.
It's January 14th.
Well, let's see, I know we've got to page 30, where's the correction there?
Hey, can we leave a little room at the end for other business?
Hey, you
I
know,
have a couple things here I was
Yeah.
gonna talk about.
I might, if I can find a page for the date that where we left it off.
Got the right one this time, last time I had the wrong one. Map.
Martin's right up there, 60s.
Page 50.
Well, I knew we were up to page 30,
I'm passing 69.
and then we got to the definitions, which are on page 41, and I have it changed to see definitions pertaining only.
Where?
Page 31,
On page 41.
41.
This is where we were saying everything's set here.
Oh, you got the old one.
No, I should be switching over
The
to.
newest one has page numbers on the bottom.
Aha! That's what I've been trying to ask. But it-
That was my problem last time, I had the old one with me and then got rid of this one this time.
I had mine.
You gotta memorize it.
Well, no, because I keep have so many different versions.
What
Right.
page is it?
On page 41,
41, okay.
and you have that only mark
Yeah,
on there?
never mind.
Okay, so at least we got that far.
Only's in,
Yeah,
when only's crossed off.
the other.
Adding it in
yeah,
the definition. Oh, one's crossed and one's added. Definition printing only.
Alright, arrow there.
Didn't bring the red ones.
The definitions. On page 48, we have the grammar change, I think. You have that it.
Okay.
Stream,
Yeah, where it becomes
It.
river.
Comes a river.
I'm gonna make it it.
Yeah, so that's stream for some reason. But we did that before, didn't we?
The stream becomes.
Yeah, I have enough.
Yeah, we have to put an arrow on it there, yep.
Get rid of from.
So then we got to the appendices, and that's where the big comes in.
I think you cross something out, but less than halfway down page 50. Governmental, comma, and it looks like institutional, commercial, or industrial. So we're just gonna leave it, say just governmental, governmental.
I don't have any note on it.
Oh, it looks like it had some.
We're in page 15.
Page 50,
Oh, yeah.
guy says there's some scribble over institutional, comma,
Yeah.
commercial.
Not on mine, but I'll
Yeah,
go.
well, this is probably where we got. Oh, you did cross that out. You crossed out institutional and commercial, right?
Or
Yeah.
industrial. Well, this is like a copy, it just, I see it through the copy.
Yeah, that's a copy. I don't know where it came from. Because
That's why I'm asking.
last time I wasn't editing, I was using red, and I'm using.
Okay, so.
I didn't know if that was something we were doing, or if that was something.
What should it say? I think
Governmental, institutional, commercial, industry.
First principle structure.
Is that a state
Limited
change?
residential. So up top, we have some cross off too, on the first line, residential, commercial, institutional, commercial and industrial look like, so there must be some reason. Residential, government, institutional, commercial, industrial
I don't know,
structures.
because I didn't have the full appendix, and I recopied that, so I'm not sure.
Oh, that's the last page. Let's
Yeah.
just see those.
That's what I say, I only did this one, and then I realized that, so I just copied the rest.
Right.
So now you have,
Oh, you
I don't
got,
have to give you the rest, right?
yeah, I don't have them.
Okay, and you don't have anything beyond
Okay, on that.
page,
No.
okay. You do though, you have
I
page
do, I have 51 through
through 7 or
6,
something.
yeah, 7,
Okay, well, I will
Three.
make you a copy.
74.
And yours don't have those faint cross-ups, huh?
No, I think this is where this is sort of where we stop, and then because this is where it gets really difficult to do.
It is difficult.
What is it that they're referring to?
That's the limited residential district.
50, yeah. So we just start with that. Like so.
Is this not in here?
I think so.
Oh, I'm gonna have them in here, then I can look at them in the main one, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Under what?
Not copies to crisscross, huh? I still think I can make
It would
copies.
be under shoreland.
No.
Oh, no.
That's probably.
No, yeah, you know where it would be. It would be, this is zoning. And this is starting to be under that. It's in here somewhere. Oh,
No. And those one too. There's one in the residential.
there's a bunch.
49 is definitions. Yeah. Definition glossary doesn't have it. No.
After the, it was after the definitions, but
And this latest one is 11/7/17, that is the latest full ordinance book, right?
yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that,
I'm fine for it. I'm gonna get my messed up.
No, that's standard.
Could be under the shoreline. Or it could be under, I don't know where it is.
I don't either. Seems like it's extricated from somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't make it up.
This whole appendix, see, this should be in here, right? We just don't know where.
Yeah,
Hmm.
these these are all shoreline.
That looks like it's on.
They're, the shoreline districts.
Miscellaneous ordinances. Huh. Is it possible that it got missed in here somewhere?
The state does.
Yeah, I think that's a state thing.
Okay, I just,
Because according to our zoning, we don't have a limited residential zone. And I don't even remember it as a proposed zone.
oh yeah, of course, we have it in the,
It's in the comprehensive.
it's in our,
Yeah.
This is the definition of districts.
you know, our chart.
Shoreline resource protection.
Okay. Maybe this came out of the state then.
No, geez, good. So I will need a copy of that too.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Wait, let me find the origin of this. I just-
If it's the state, then I got it from the Edgewater. But no, it's got shoreline business too, and marine overlays. It's got, it has the districts that we have. These aren't Edgewater districts. Continue on.
Yeah, I was, I wish I had my laptop because I can do research.
That's what I was just doing, but it's not coming
Oh, you got it down there in front?
Yeah.
Good to do. You see, the cross out was the same idea as this, some of these carbon copied, photocopied in. Where's the retake it? Yeah. Must be renaming Not sets together. Huh. sort of the beginning, we were changing limited shoreline residential to limited residential.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let me just page it up.
Just scrolling through the ordinances, looking.
I literally went through it. Match. I'm for a visual match on the page.
Are you looking for this page?
All right,
In
here,
the
I've got it.
ordinances, I've got it here.
I have it.
What page?
Well,
I've got it on page 117. B 5.9, residential governmental institutional, that's what you're looking for? So that is on page 117. In the book, in this book, 117.
And then the first page, page 53.
Where'd you find it? Jackie? Same thing?
well,
It's the same page you got here that you got last time.
How'd you find it? What was it in?
It's on page 117 in the
Shoreline
regular.
residential. Yeah, there it is. It's in shoreline residential.
Yeah,
And here, this says limited residential.
yeah,
Well,
so it's just the
part of the
difference
changes are we
confusing.
changing shoreline residential to,
Is this the state? State says limited residential?
yeah.
Okay, but we don't yet.
We don't, but everything else is the same if you see, so it's not limited.
Thank you. very
Well, it's
much.
a different page than I have. Is 117 in the,
It's 117 in this book, but it's
that's our.
50 on this thing that you gave me.
Okay. Oh, yeah, B59.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, this says appendix, this is an appendix right here.
yeah.
It starts here.
Over there, see, you got that.
And it's been so long since I did this.
Oh, no, I knew this was gonna be catch-up meeting. Trying to catch up.
And because we're not using all this, we're using,
Right.
we have appendices. Because some of the uses are in the other thing.
So our institutional, commercial, industrial is summarized. And I have it circled in red back on the original date. Oh. January 14th this year. But I didn't have anything marked out. And I don't know what I meant by. Certainly.
The whole thing to figure out what we're doing.
What was all that we crossed out so much of? I don't remember, what was that?
No, I got lots of pages of it.
I left that old one at home, but what was that? Was a lot of redundancy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I keep updating it so that we don't have to do,
Right, this is the latest, I know we're looking at the latest.
yeah, the one that says 2119 on the top.
Yep,
Yeah,
Well,
and then the page numbers on it.
Yep.
On page where it's talking about roads and driveway, that dated of this, in this year that we said not allowed. It's not allowed in the zone, so we don't need the wordage. So, does that, we have to deal with this in our,
so is the next page correct then too, we'd be going on, because this is appendices, if we go to the next page, we're in short on business history.
well, yeah, interestingly enough, there's a D, E, and F under that originally.
Right, you don't have all the pages, right?
Back in quote, this one, with the unnumbered pages. I have it, and then this one here, no, here, this ends at 50 now, I don't have. Yeah, sorry, there was in the original,
You
gave it
the
to
one
me.
that ends, you and I have it.
Okay.
oh, yours had a D, yeah. Next page, oh, you go on.
Yeah, I go on
Yeah.
page 73.
Right, so,
The rest of the board needs to be spot on.
Yes, I will send it to you.
oh boy.
You want me to go copy it now?
Well, can't really go any further, I'm not sure what we're doing with this section at the moment, so.
The only one, you can just stick it in and it flies through,
Yeah.
you don't have to put each page up and everything,
We'll
okay,
go with it.
Might give it this side, right?
Very much.
Page 74.
I can't
Exciting.
figure out what it is, you know?
All right,
Sometimes they go the right way.
Yep. So, why were we having appendices to this sections? Catch it up. Days with formatting and stuff.
from appendices on this where we are in the main book.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how I was putting this in appendices.
Way back.
Definitions. Just before definitions. everything. See, while she's gone, if I can bring you up, Deb, on what the graphically what the issue is doing, so, no,
Yes, it's a good one.
that's too small, that's too small. Keep going up the side, okay. So then you have this away. This is a portion of the zoning map, just a piece of it. Blown up because it's very small. This one is Village Waterfront District. This has a color on time, but it's Village 1 District. Elaine Key. Well, it's Village 1, it's Village 2. This line is the shoreline zoning line.
Ah,
clipping into Village 2. So it's a, problem is, shoreland was always meant by the state to be an overlay. So you have whatever zoning you have, and then, whoops,
Yeah.
this part is, you can keep that, is also affected by these, which is probably a much stricter ordinance.
Hmm.
Now, we can do that a couple of ways, because this is the only place, as far as I know, I'm looking at the map in town, where this isn't, where the zone doesn't match. And you just leave it that way. So you gotta look at the map. And lo and behold, some people are gonna be surprised, because we got, well, we have no zoning in, there's no minimum lot size in the village waterfront district, but doesn't this, this is not the residential district, so it doesn't affect it, but if the zoning, shoreline zoning ordinance has a acreage requirement, then it overrides the fact there's no minimum lot size.
Thank you very much. So that was it? Yep, okay.
Now, we have to go back and kind of look at it, is there a, because if we're totally wiping out one of our zones with an overlay, or totally contradicting, seriously contradicting what we're all saying.
I think
I'm
we
trying to
have,
explain.
I think what we have to do first is figure out about the zones so we can,
Yeah,
because there's, the shoreline zone goes under 250 feet, so you have different standards for, versus the village one.
yeah. Well, okay, here is a good, I think it's a good example. This is appendix. Now, the title is limited residential district, but it says residential, government, institutional, I believe it's supposed to be crossed, in the shoreline zone. Not in the limited residential zone, in the shoreline zone. Will be more.
Limited residential is part of the shoreline zone.
Okay.
And we have 5,
Well, this just points out the problem with the shoreline zone requires, adjacent to title, requires an acre lot. Our village waterfront district has no lot size requirement. And the entire village waterfront sits in the shoreline zone.
I know, I took this out of the book.
Yeah,
So this is what has to be changed, but we should figure out how we're gonna change the districts first.
this needs to be changed. Okay, well, therein lies the problem. But that's not the structure, terrible, you just, because it says, the title is limited residential, but it says the shoreline zone, so
Well,
the shoreline zone in any zone requires.
well, it was a little bit, they were different, so
Yeah.
I think what I covered, I took what was in the book, and with these now, we have not gone through these pages.
Okay, well, okay, this goes on to village waterfront. Okay.
Some of this was taken out, you know, it was, yep, it was all sort of in the middle of the other.
Yeah, I understand.
I know I knew what I was doing when I did it. Can't explain it now.
You had a plan,
I
but just,
understand. Well, I guess we gotta, I think what we have to do is we have to go down through these. And we may end up with a total rewording, but at least we'll have to say, I'm not sure they're appendixes anymore, but,
So
see,
it's
if
extra
this
stuff, that's
conflicts
why.
with, huh?
It's extra stuff that didn't fit in with what we had done before. That's why I put them as appendix, was list these.
You added the words appendix.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay, so there's no appendixes anywhere else in the
Yeah,
main
it's the
book?
same, so
But there's
this
A
became,
and B, yeah. But it didn't, when we did the rest of this, which was all general, then these things are different, or exceptions, or
I understand that.
In additions.
I think, going back on.
But that's why, I just want to clear, be sure I understood, that's why there's no appendixes in the
Yeah.
big ones, because
right,
they never were called that. What are they called there? They're just not
they're
called that.
just sections, but they're,
Section, okay.
there are sections in the different districts, but we put them all together, you know, because,
Right, okay. I'll clear it out.
Formerly known as the shoreline zone.
So you gotta read through all these and look for.
So, limited residential was,
this is,
resource protection.
this is where I got some of this from.
Yeah.
This here-
Was also put into our charts.
These are all state, correct? These are state subsets
Yeah.
on the chart, right? Because that's where we have limited residential, but we.
Right. And then, well, and then we did those ones to the right side. We went down and put down what we wanted
Right.
in those districts, because they aren't in the shoreline, they're the shoreline, but the state doesn't divide it up that way,
Right, that's what I thought.
so.
This is still relevant. This is still relevant. Still, I just want to make sure it's so long.
Yeah, so
That
these,
chart is real. I mean,
I
that
gotta
chart.
do a test on this when we get through, Dan.
I'm actually frightened.
I know.
He came home.
I'm telling you, we've been doing this a long
you
time.
have, you have that in her?
No,
No, she's got that too.
okay.
Our table that we struggled with so much. Because isn't that what pages one, in our existing ordinance pages, starting on page 100, we turned it into a table? We said we don't need, we didn't
You
need,
definitely need a copy of the table too.
Okay.
and the other people.
Yeah, Chris.
I may actually have one copy. I have one copy.
No.
So this table, this one now is our effort to take pages 140, 100 through where it ends, and turn it into a table instead of a lot of words, because the headings combined with what the state told us we had to have for headings, so there was some. But like I can see that fire prevention is in here. Wildfire management, that's a fourth five, clearing of vegetation. Those are all done in a chart format. So then we get to this, which isn't a chart, this is requirements. This means starting on 50. Let me change the title from appendix.
To what?
I don't know yet, but I'm not sure that takes me right, because that's the additional requirements in the zones.
Yeah, we have the chart, and then these are,
Uses, but this is more specific, it says what you can have for square footage and that kind of thing,
right.
which is partially in here,
Yeah,
maybe.
we have the chart in here, and a lot of this stuff is in here, but this is stuff that is in the Wiscasset ordinance,
Right.
and which is not in this first part.
Right, well, the chart doesn't tell you things like
No,
frontage, it tells you uses.
Right.
This is specific for zone requirements. So, first one is, why did we, it still goes back to, why did we, some of us have this commercial industrial structures? Well, maybe we go back to the chart and say, in the limited residential, were we allowing commercial? No. Industrial, no. That's why they're crossed off.
Oh,
We weren't allowing them in that zone. So,
No commercial,
no industrial.
industrial, institutional,
all right.
do we even have
I
that?
think.
What are we, oh,
I'm on page 50 of page.
limited residential, we must be allowing residential.
Yeah, and I think we're on governmental because, in governmental, and it's supposed, or with planning board approval, so they're allowed. So,
No, governmental institution is not allowed.
government,
I guess no.
planning board, star, I am
Yeah.
planning board star,
For governmental institutional?
in limited residential.
I had that crossed out, I didn't know.
I've got arrow pointing at the
Well,
planning board with a star, that's what I've got.
Hang on,
I
go
may
back to
have-
the end of
Yes,
this.
yeah.
I may have gone through these things and found, I did compare them with the chart.
Yeah.
I just pointed an arrow.
Oh, we did overrule a few.
I wish I knew now, but, let's see, this is limited residential.
And that would be, and commercial. No, so that's why these are crossed out. The
Public and private recreation areas,
Oh,
or planning board,
tell me what's crossed off, because I didn't,
commercial or industrial?
B59, commercial and industrial, so I guess we get to move the and.
B59 is what?
Commercial and industrial are gone, and we'll need to move an and
Okay.
before industrial. And we'll have to have the, oh
The
shoot, what is it,
institutional.
comma? Has a special name.
Governmental and institutional.
The Oakhurst Dairy Court case that earned a special name, comma, as a.
All I can remember is the,
What are you talking about?
what the,
Oakhurst Dairy, within the last
Oh,
5 years,
comma,
lost a case
yeah.
where the comma was the, in phrase with the contract was the killer, they paid $5 million or something like that, those four I
so
think.
then down in the next,
So we leaving the comma?
so residential.
Oh, yeah, we'll leave a comma.
Residential, governmental, and institutional
Institutional.
structures. Is that right?
Comma,
Yeah.
comma, yeah.
Oh, we're gonna add
Governmental,
residential?
comma, and institutional.
Residential government.
I was double checking, and institutional was allowed, and I thought it was, well, yeah.
Planning board.
It's lumped with government,
Residential, comma, commercial, and institutional.
so that one's okay, but those two come out down there on the list.
Then,
Are we all right with requiring an acre and 150 and 200? An acre is 43,560 square feet. Plan.
It is, that's an acre.
I don't know about
It is, but the limit is square feet.
shorefront, about shorefront, 150 feet. That was all,
Yeah,
is it 150?
it says 150. 200 is non-tidal areas, so that would be a lake or pond,
I'm thinking setback.
freshwater river. We have a freshwater river, well, yeah, we have some freshwater streams. Adjacent to tidal areas for commercial fisheries and maritime activities. Are those allowed? For commercial and maritime. There's a zone for that, I know there is. Conversions, home, roads, service drops, campgrounds, parking, driving. Anybody got more than 32 land uses? I don't see fishing.
Oh,
Is that aquaculture?
Sounds like it. Planning
well,
board
it
for
says you need
agriculture.
an acre
Well, wait a minute.
and 200 feet setback.
Yeah, we're looking at adjacent to tidal areas zoned for commercial fisheries and maritime activities.
Right.
But we don't even have those zones, do we?
I think it should say exclusive of those areas zoned for commercial, not zones.
Well, this is supposed to be in the limited residential district.
Right.
Adjacent to tidal areas zoned for commercial fisheries and maritime activities. Oh, we don't zone for that, does the state? I'm going to make that a question to ask. Adjacent to non-tidal areas. That would be a lake. Or a freshwater river. Non-tidal. Well, the Sheepshead is tidal all the way past our boundary. So Gardner Pond. This requires 60,000 square foot long and 300 feet of frontage. Okay, anybody think of an area in this town that, other than Gardner Pond, that qualifies?
Is that part of the residential? That's,
Yeah, that's a requirement for limited
I mean, it's Gardner Pond in that spot.
Yeah, is Gardner Pond in that, whatever, my zoning map.
All right, see, I took that out of what we have here.
Yeah, oh yeah,
So,
lifted it right out.
oh, I thought you were questioning.
Oh, no, lifted it out of there. No, but I am questioning that we have this requirement for adjacent to tidal areas zoned for commercial fisheries and maritime activities. Wiscasset does not zone for commercial or maritime activities. Therefore, it seems to be that that is an unnecessary segment. Gardner Pond is brown. Sure, I'm in same shade of brown. Yeah. Okay. As far as I can tell, the only place that second one, the one about adjacent to non-tidal areas, would be Gardner Pond. Possibly, no. This Chonky Stream is tidal still. I
Oh,
don't know for how far. It's interesting. Now the dam's out, how far up is that tide?
So to have a house then, not a house, any, like a dock, you gotta have an acre of land, 200 foot of frontage on Gardner Pond.
No, residential structure to me would be a house, not a dock.
I think I'm at the bottom of
Um,
non-tidal, which is
Oh, well,
Gardner.
adjacent to non-tidal areas, that would be land adjacent to that part of this district is on non-tidal, which as far as I can tell is Gardner Pond.
So they have to have an acre and 200 foot of frontage.
Under this, on Gardner
Yeah.
Pond, you'd have to have an acre, 60,000 square feet, and 300 feet of frontage. I know we don't want Gardner Pond chopped up into house lots.
All that's residential, right?
I guess that's okay, it's been that way since we inherited this ordinance, so.
That's about all there is on that pond right now, I think, anyway.
There's this,
I think Bruce said there's someone that, at the end you could get off the bog road, that somebody did a whole bunch of cutting out there.
oh yeah. We did work for a cottage, a house out behind Maplewood Trailer Park. It has not come in for final yet. But I also understand it's back on the burner. And there there are other houses that have views, but I don't think they're within 250. It might be 251.
Right.
They were set back quite a ways. Pretty little pond, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how pretty it was until
Yeah.
we did that work.
Takes a little work to get down
Yeah, like I say, I think the only public way in is through the bridge to nowhere and then try to navigate upstream to the pond itself. There's no public
there. No, there isn't.
access. It is a great pond, so you can carry your kayak over somebody's property with a fishing rod. Yeah.
I've done that, so I guess that was all right. I wasn't gonna say anything with this thing.
Totally digress. I know this attorney, and he's right. He's a
If you carry it and have a fishing pole, you can trust it.
No, a guy tried to kick him off, called the sheriff. Deputy comes out. Canoe is armed with a copy of the law. Deputy ended up arresting the lot owner for harassing him. He had every right to cross that land to get out of the pond.
That before birding, binoculars, have a pole or whatever, if you're near the water, just have something like that with you.
No, in theory, yeah.
Right.
Of course, if you don't have a fishing license, now you get paid for that, but if you're not. So.
And that would have been great if the town,
Romance.
when I first moved here, the town was deciding whether or not to get a hold of that campground or whatever it is.
Oh,
So
yeah?
there'd be public land, remember that?
I don't really remember
Yeah, then they voted no, Todd thought they had it all set for the rec department, town was gonna buy that, then they voted it down at some meeting, I think it was kind of a
Is
blow.
this, that's where we used to swim as kids, is up at the
that.
campground.
Campground,
Right, but that would have been the town beach then, if they had got it.
yeah.
They
Just
didn't
town
want to
liability.
After a while, the people, whoever had the access to it, didn't let kids go up there anymore after a while.
Alright,
I grew up swimming up there.
You'd still?
No,
Oh.
I mean,
So
when I was a
I went
kid.
once with Girl Scouts, so
Yeah,
I wasn't real volleyball, Girl Scouts. I remember the water's blank.
it's down, the water is down. Yeah. But we don't have a lot of places around to swim. I mean, my kids swim off the dock down here on the river.
I
They
get
always
that,
get
I haven't used to.
They made me jump in that river when I took Rachel to the sailing lessons. That was the first thing we had to do. It was
Yeah.
like, it's
But a
cold.
lot of kids swim there. When we had the ships there, kids would swim to the ships. And,
Yeah, another thing they didn't want to do.
yeah, the rats were
Public
big.
and private recreational facilities adjacent to title and non-title land. Public and private recreational facilities. Where do those fit in our public and private recreational are allowed in that zone? Hi, you're 20 minutes early, almost. This is the ordinance review committee, so we're just gonna, this is the ordinance review committee, so planning board will start in 20 minutes.
Shall I leave?
No, we allow anybody listening to our comments. So that's allowed, I mean, that's still going to be allowed, so I guess an acre and 200 feet is consistent with the numbers above.
Have we changed anything?
I have it marked to look further into this adjacent to tidal commercial fisheries and maritime activities. The only zone that I know of that extends into the water is part of the development on Point. The little plant in Orning. Now it's almost all town land, so. B is pretty much straight out of.
Okay, what was that thing then, I was kayaking up there, now that you piqued my, if you went up behind the Mason Station in that cove, up behind that cove there, you're under all the power lines, there's like a big old dam thing, that concrete structure with
Yeah.
cranks in it.
Yeah.
Would they used to let water in and out for something?
I've seen that labeled ice pond, I believe, on something, but it seems to me.
I mean, if there's no lobster.
It was part of that hearing, somebody did come in and said they'd go up there and, I don't remember, agricultural use, I don't know, yeah. I believe that doesn't raise the level of Great Pond's private property, so, I think, find it again.
Oh, no, there's nothing there now, it's
Yeah.
just like
That would be
it's an old,
strange.
I just noticed it, I thought you might know what it was.
No.
So, thought it might have been sort of part of the Mason information.
All right, I think we're gonna come to a stop here on, let's see if we can make it to B6. Now, let's see if we make it all the way to the village park on page 51 before we quit. D and C are straight out of state ordinances, I've read them many times. So I think they stay here. Which one does this go in? This one. Yes. And how did we go to italics? Wait a minute. On page 51, B and C are the same B and C, so that's just a repeat. Somebody hit italics.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna make it to Benefit. The second B and C can be just a B. On page 51 is also a B and C.
The PNC here.
Oh, the same with B and C on page 50. Oh, well, they are on mine.
They are,
No.
See? The font jumps to italic and
This is what I just gave you. Can't be.
first page off, because I get a first page. No, well, you don't have to copy all this stuff over.
This
Yeah.
is not.
My notes, I'll have to copy it over the next
About
page.
to.
So never mind that.
All right, B and C are still good?
Oh.
They're
Middle
staying.
distance.
You know that's a state law, that's sticking.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're gonna review
The rest of the,
page 50.
I think we'll pick it up at Village Waterfront 51, bottom of 51.
Or 51.
51 through 70, whatever.
To the end.
Yeah, so.
I'm sorry, I have reading of what we're trying to do.
51 to the end.
51 to the end is our goal, yeah.
Okay.
Understand. It's always our goal to get to the end, so we don't have to set a set number of pages.
We'll just follow that.
As far as I can
chart.
tell, we want to keep everything down to and including B6.
This is all that's in the thing now, in the ordinance now.
And we decided to release 26. All right, Jason, you said you had something.
We had a couple things come through from Bruce. Again, it's probably old news now, from July 15th.
Oh,
Remember that?
Yeah.
Asking about the house at 28 Flood Avenue, and whether or not we could have a wedding venue. I don't know if it says have a wedding venue or a wedding, I guess is what.
Oh,
Doesn't matter?
that's all.
Okay. There was talk about the certificate of occupancy, looks like those are all just commercial uses, right? It appears in the thing. It's just a fact then. I have one more, but I'll save it for the next time.
Okay,
That's fine.
write it down so you don't forget.
What's that?
Write it down so you don't
Oh, it's
forget.
interesting.
All right.
Hey, let's go.
Any other-
All right.
Any other comments or business before the ORC? Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor? We are adjourned at whatever you say it is.
yeah.
6:51, bro.
Okay, that's easy.
51 onward. All right.
Straighten this out.
Our next meeting is